Shines from the Spirit with glorious light. Confident living cleanses my soul, giving the Spirit fullest control.
I'm Mike Costello, and I'm here with Dr. Iris Freelander, and today we'd like to share with you some ideas about angelic beings. Angels today are a very deep interest to all of us, and we see them from everywhere, from specialty stores to the grocery store, on clothes, on billboards, around churches. We have been with and infatuated with and interested in angels for centuries, and today there seems to be an awareness of angels, of angelic beings, and in New Thought metaphysical philosophy, we believe firmly in the reality of angelic beings, of these beings connecting us with the unseen world. We believe also that there is an unseen world that is present and as real as the physical world in which we live. And so we'd like to explore for the next few moments some thoughts about angelic beings and angels in general. What is it that you think interests people about angels, especially today?
Well, I think the consciousness of mankind is raised, so more people are seeing angels, literally seeing them. And then I think because of the Earth's conditions, more angels are coming and making themselves known. Because as you said, we've been hearing of angels for aeons of time. There's always been angels mentioned in any religious books, but more and more are showing themselves. Mm-hmm. And if we believe any religious books, they all say that there are many angels, and there are many denominations, many different types of angels. And so we know that there are.
Right, and those aren't denominations like Methodist and
No.
Presbyterian or metaphysical angels. Those are levels of angelic beings. So
Exactly.
There is a hierarchy of angels.
Exactly.
And I know you studied for a long time with Flower Newhouse, a very gifted teacher in New Thought philosophy and metaphysics. And Flower did a lot of work and a lot of teaching about angels, didn't she?
Yes, she felt that that was her mission in life. Well, she felt everyone's mission is to know God more fully. That's our mission in life. But she felt that the reason she came here this lifetime and her predestined agreement was to teach about the angelic kingdom, because they were not well enough known nor appreciated. And true, we should know them and we should appreciate them. And of course, we believe that we all have a guardian angel, and that guardian angel assigns herself or himself to us before we're born, and they stay with us throughout that lifetime. Mm-hmm. And Flower taught us a step further that before we're born, our guardian angel, our higher self, and a Lord or angel of karma will plan what we're to accomplish in that given earth life, and I believe that's true.
Mm-hmm. And that together, then this angelic presence stays with us,
right,
into life.
Exactly, and, throughout that lifetime, mm-hmm. throughout. And sometimes more lifetimes than one, but certainly throughout that lifetime. And actually, the theory is that when we become God aware, we're assigned an individual guardian angel. Prior to that, we have group angels. And just like everyone accepts the fact that the animal kingdom has group angels, a specific angel will be over several animals. And so that's how it is with humankind, some think, until we are aware. And then our guardian stays with us until we go into the 5th degree of initiation, or at least the 3rd degree of initiation. Mm-hmm. And we no longer need that specific guardian angel. But there are angels of the highest would be the archangels, of course. And they were created in the beginning. And then the archangels created the seed atoms. They flung out atoms that became the angelic kingdom. And then humankind evolved from that. And I think that's a lovely thought, and I choose to believe it because it's simply something that gives me comfort and joy.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that true about angels? I mean, I think so often in religion and in churches, we're so concrete in our belief. Yes. and so rigid in our teaching. But in fact, the reality that angels bring us comfort kind of transcends whether it's true or not true, whether so many of these details about angels are important, or whether the real presence is important. And isn't that always the case in our theology? We get too complex.
Yes. And our divine way shower is just as much an enigma, the Lord Christ. We have to take that on faith, so we take angels on faith. And many people see the angels, they see the higher ones in all different categories. And so I think there's probably not anyone living who hasn't seen something that's supernatural, and they'll sometimes deny it, and they'll think, oh, I just imagined that. But I know I used to see when I was a child, and I thought I was imagining it. I used to see my guardian angel, and I thought it was Jesus. And so we all see, but we it's like it's taught out of us, so that we no longer believe as we grow up, because society seems to tell us, at least in this country, that these supernatural things do not exist. But we know that they do, and more people are seeing them.
And they are spiritual beings, that is, without physical bodies. And so they are able to move about in time and space without relationship to time or space.
Yes, but they can take on a physical body if they wish to, for a specific reason. And then they're born just like the rest of humankind is born and live in human bodies. And then there's the Deva kingdom, which would be a lower level of the angelic kingdom, and they sometimes come in human bodies, and that makes sense too.
Now these have responsibility for the natural wonders of the world.
Right, and they overshadow all the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom and the animal, and then they're angels for the animal kingdom too. And they wouldn't be devas, I believe. The devas would overshadow, as you said, the nature kingdom.
And isn't it interesting that we have this teaching that comes so clearly through the generations, and virtually all of the faiths have some understanding or claim of angelic presence, and that there's this unity of belief in the existence of this group of beings that connects us with the divine, that goes between this physical life and the invisible side of life.
Yeah, but isn't that wonderful that we have that? And it's becoming stronger and more tangible almost, isn't it?
It is. In our faith tradition, many times we use meditation to connect ourselves with the invisible side of life, and many people connect very fully or completely with the angelic presence in their life. And maybe we could talk a little bit about that. Of course, some people talk today about channeling and about a variety of other names and words that create all kinds of feelings. And one of the things that we say so often is that words build fences that keep us from coming together. But whether channeling exists or doesn't exist isn't of much importance to us in our particular faith tradition, but that connectiveness of communication is. And so a lot of people simply connect with their angelic beings through simple meditation. Isn't that true?
Yes, it is true. And through wanting to know, I think wanting to know, because so many angels have given messages to different human beings saying to ask for what you want. And they honor, just as God gave mankind free will, and God doesn't take away from our free will, and we're allowed to make bad decisions because that's our free will. And it wouldn't be taken away. And those on the inner who work with us don't take away our free will. From any level of consciousness, they don't take away, and the angels don't either. So we have to ask them. And we're talking about angels, but those discarnate beings, human beings who have lived in human bodies, work very much as the angelic kingdom while they're on the inner planes, and they're available to help us, and they work with mankind, continue to. And the more highly evolved the human consciousness is when they go over in death, the more they work with humankind. They're not having to do their own growth work there. They're doing work with those of us on earth. And they're always available to us. And if we call on them and ask for their help, we pray to God, but we pray in the name of the living Christ, but we ask for the help that we need So as we ask, it is given to us.
And then we're able to open a line of communication, so to speak,
Yes.
or a resource that we have of spiritual life that,
Yes.
that moves in the ethers of life that we don't see.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think we've all seen angels. We just don't acknowledge that we did. We think it was our imagination. I remember once seeing my guardian angel, and I remember the first time I remember seeing her is when I was stealing candy from a box of my parents in my home when I was a child, and it was really quite something. And I put that candy back because it was quite. It wasn't the first time I'd stolen candy from a box, but it was so interesting that I saw her back behind me. And but I thought it was Jesus. That's when I thought. So then later on, I've seen them various times, and it's been very helpful to me. And at one time, I was in a crisis in my personal life, and I thought, can I go on with this situation the way it is? And my guardian appeared and gave me a very definite message that this experience was the very experience I needed for my own soul growth. And I could only see her face. It was so, her face was, the light was bright around her, and all I could see was her face. And I've heard many others say that that's the way they see the angelic beings.
So you were able to directly communicate with,
Yes.
with the angelic realm.
Yes. Well, and we all can. This is it. We can and often do. We just don't acknowledge that we're doing it. I could have said, well, that was my imagination, but I know it wasn't. And we rationalize, we over-rationalize. So what I'm really saying is we need to accept that, yes, these wonderful beings are there to help us and do, and we need to acknowledge them. It's just like we need to show gratitude to God. We need to show gratitude to the angelic beings. We need to show gratitude anywhere when people help us, whoever it is that helps us. And whenever we show love, faith, gratitude, the positive factors, then we're going to be blessed that much more.
Isn't it interesting today there's a television program, Touched by an Angel,
Yes.
and that program makes the angelic kingdom so much a part of the physical life of the people with whom they come in contact. And I think so many people have that view of the angelic kingdom that provides that view. The other view that I think is portrayed by that television program, and we're not actually advertising that program, we have no interest in it really other than to make an observation, but there's the angel of death. And the angel of death comes to help people in their transition. And I think the wonderful thing in this program is that it's portrayed, of course, in this particular theatrical way as a rather kindly, attractive, youngish, middle-aged man, and that angel of death comes really to bring solace and comfort and to help not only the one making the transition, but also the ones that are around that dear one. And I think that's an important aspect.
It is. It's very important. And, you know, they're just portraying this angel of death the way so that people can relate to it. But most of us can relate to angels as being from the angel kingdom. We don't have to see them looking like human beings. And of course, there are angels of death, and there's a lot of angels of death, and they come to help. They are great, huge, majestic, and strong, and so loving. And I sensed the presence of the angel of death that when I was with my mother-in-law when she died. And she died so peacefully and happily. And it was just lovely to see. And I sensed that being, but she didn't take her right away. She stayed, my mother-in-law stayed there in her, not exactly in her body, but at her body for a time, before about 20 minutes. And I said to the nurse, would you just please leave her here for a time? Just leave her be. And she said, certainly, as long as you like. And so after a time, I could go say to the nurse, it wouldn't matter now when you take her, because she was gone. Her energy was gone. But that angel of death came for her.
And isn't it wonderful that we can view the angel of death in a positive light?
Yes.
And in our church, every Sunday, we offer a pastoral prayer for a variety of needs, needs that have come to our church. And one of the things that we always remember is the people who have made the transition of that we call death during the last week. And for those who are preparing to make that transition, every Sunday, at least that I say the prayer,
Yeah.
I invoke the angelic beings to come and be with these people preparing for that transition. Because as we call them, they come anyway.
Exactly.
But as we call them, we join with them in the support and the nurturing that goes on in the period of transition. And also the healing presence of angels. And I'm not saying that we call the angels of healing to the bedside of everyone that's preparing to make a transition, but the healing angels or the angelic presences of healing come to us at different points in our life and meet our needs. And so often I know when I give a healing treatment, I always call into the presence, not only the presence of God and Christ, but also the angelic beings that are able to enfold this dear one as they're dealing with this circumstance.
That's right, because your words go out as light and they attract these angelic beings. And again, they follow free will. And sure, they would be there to help people, but they help far more profusely and better if we ask. And we have that privilege of asking as a minister, as a friend.
And as we do that, then we connect with these angelic beings, and we become not an extension, but we become a party to what's going on, and it does nothing but nurture and strengthen us.
Exactly.
Because we're touched by it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know when I've done healing work with people in hospitals, and they'd say, well, you must be tired now. But that's not correct, because it always gives me energy. And don't you find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. It invigorates.
Yeah.
And then for those who are passing into spirit, I always, much like the observation that you made about your mother-in-law, have a feeling of this presence. And often in hospitals or in homes where we spend time with people who are making the transition that we call death, there is such a feeling of peace when, in fact, so many others who are in the same room are robbed of that because they're holding so firmly to the physical life and they're not connecting with the spiritual or the angelic side of life. The other thing that I just enjoy, as you know, is doing funerals.
Yes.
And we do a lot of funerals, and I always have a sense as I'm seated in the mortuary or in the chapel or the church or wherever, and the hymns are being sung or the music is taking place, of the presence of that dear one, because I strongly feel there's a conscious awareness at funerals of the person who's passed away, and then the presence of angelic beings that just support this in such a wonderful way.
Yes.
And
yes. And you're adding your energy to their energy to help the audience to see more clearly and to help the family to accept this so-called loss. And I've been taught that we have to attend our own memorial service. We need to have a memorial service, and it's required that we attend it. That's part of our growth. And a part of it is to see what people really thought of us so that we can accept that this is what people really thought of us. And I believe they are. And you can see the person standing. They're usually in the left-hand side in the high up in the church building itself. And so if they can't come on their own, they're brought because they want to be there. And it's a wonderful thing to know, the continuity. And we can get through our grief more easily when we know that these who have gone on are in a better, more wonderful place, and they're happy, healthy, and strong, and they're able to communicate and to come back and forth.
This idea of spirit substance, and we need to talk a little bit about this, because one of the things that we try to do in these programs is make our viewers aware of what New Thought teaching is and what metaphysical philosophy is about. And so when we talk about angelic beings, we're talking about spirit substance and the fact that there is spirit substance everywhere. And that, as Dr. Garlish, who was the founder of our church, used to teach so eloquently, is that vibration exists. And I think it's sometimes a complex idea for people who haven't heard it. And so for those who come from traditional backgrounds, I would invite them to be open to the idea and the concept. But the teaching is simply that all life is energy, and that life on this side, the visible physical life, is energy. We know that scientifically. We know that this chair isn't solid, really, that it's atoms moving at a rapid rate of speed, and we know that it's energy. And all of life is energy, and the presence and power of God is energy. And so spirit substance moves at a different rate of vibration than the vibratory rate of this physical world. And that's how it's able to move in the same space and transcend space and time. And a little bit of the scary thing that we see is, whether we go back to Casper the Ghost or whether we look at some of the modern portrayals, both secular and spiritual, of spiritual beings, they're always able to walk through walls and doors and move through. And of course, they're able to do that because their vibratory rate is so much faster. And the vibratory rate of the physical life that we experience, the physical world, is slower. And so that's how we're able to operate in the same space. And one of the references that you made was that from time to time, we've all had instances where we see an angelic being, a spiritual being, but we may discount it and say, oh, no, that's my imagination. Well, in fact, we are, because their rate of vibration is able to change momentarily, and we get a glimpse of them, or we see them for a moment. And so that issue of energy and vibration is tremendously important.
And we have to be still enough to really to see. We have to be still in our consciousness and not have the movement within us of our consciousness, and then that's when we see. And so if we're trying too hard to see, we don't.
Right. And also, I don't think people should spend a lot of time trying to see, because there's no reason to. And whether an individual sees or doesn't see angelic beings, we can feel their presence. It's like the wind. And we all have had feelings of being in a room where there's another presence there. And of course there is. And often we can welcome these angelic presence in our life and invite them in and welcome them, especially in times of turmoil and difficulty.
Yes, and if we do invite them in, they're there without fail. And wherever we ask them to be, they're there without fail. Isn't faith a lovely word? It's by faith that we gain so much in life. Just having faith that the angelic kingdom does indeed exist, and that all the gradations of angels do exist and do help us, and they help us in all those various ways. If we have faith that that's true, we're more apt to sense their presence.
And as we are able to sense their presence, we're able to accept the guidance and direction that they give us. And all of us know that feeling of having the presence of our guardian angel at a point in time. And whether we feel it or have felt it or seen it, we certainly would hope that that everyone could believe that there is a guardian angel
Exactly.
present.
I want to tell you something happened last Wednesday during the church service that the lady who normally leads the singing wasn't able to because she had the flu. She had a bad cold. And so I led the singing. And so I asked my guardian angel to please lead the singing for me. And as you know, I don't sing well. I took music lessons, voice lessons, and I still don't sing well. So someone from the audience said to me, Sky Torsmo sings like an angel. And I said, I agree with you. She does indeed. And she says, and you do too. And I said, why ever would you say that? Because she's an honest person. And she said, because you did tonight. And I thought that was so lovely that my guardian really did sing through.
And that presence was experienced by those around you, even though you didn't see it.
Yes, yes. And so she sensed that. And I thought that was a proof right there. And so I told her, well, I asked my guardian to help me, and I believe she did. So if you heard an angel singing through my throat, it wasn't exactly my throat.
Isn't it interesting? So often when we do think of angels or see angels, we have a connection between angels and prayer, of course, but also angels and music.
Yes.
That there's that musical connection.
Yes, but I understand that music is the highest endeavor we can ever do here on earth, we can ever involve ourselves in, is music. And those who are highly advanced in music are often from the angelic kingdom. And so, and they're the angels of, someone said, if music wasn't in heaven, then heaven would fall apart.
But music is vibration. It is vibration.
But I never thought of that.
And the interesting aspect of spirituality that we teach in New Thought is this, that energy is vibration, and that vibration is the creative force that gels and holds us all together in our places. And that certainly fits into the musical aspect of
Yes,
angel.
what an exciting concept. That is really interesting because, well, you know that's true. If you just think about if you just think about the whole aspect, you see that that is true.
Angels always have harps and of course harp music. But then the interesting thing about harp music is that it's very soothing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a balancing presence, and that's what angelic beings are as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, my friend Susie Ward, who channels information from her son Matthew, he said that about, he didn't say exactly what you said, that's very astute, but he said without music, heaven would fall apart, because it's the music that holds everything together, and which is more of what you just said, that everything functions by way of vibration and energy. So it's the energy and vibratory rate of music that holds it all together on the inner or the outer planes.
Mm-hmm. And that vibration is created by the Creator God. And that as that vibration goes out from God, it moves in a vibratory rate. And whether it's dealing with physical life or animal life or plant life or angelic life, that all life forms are a part of a vibratory rate that have been created by God. And that has everything to do with divine order, which
Yes.
we talk about a lot in New Thought, divine order.
Exactly.
That there is a divine order to the universe, there's a divine order to our lives, there's a divine order to our way of thinking, and there's a divine order to the vibration that takes place.
And the way we can attune to that divine order in any aspect of being is to ask that may we be attuned. And if we want to see angels, we can not ask to see them, but to express gratitude.
And I think that's very important, that as we give thanks for those things spiritual, they are called and drawn to us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That it creates a certain energy that creates a situation that we desire, obviously, because we know that it's true. That if we offer gratitude and thanks, then what we've prayed for comes about more fully.
Mm-hmm. It's an acknowledgement, isn't it?
Yes.
It's an acknowledgement of the presence,
Yes.
which then draws the presence to us more fully.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the presence ever deserts us, but that the presence is empowered by our acceptance of it.
That's the key, I guess, is that we're not only asking for it, which we have to do, but we're acknowledging our gratitude, but we're also accepting
And thankful for the presence that we experience in life. And we certainly are thankful for the angelic presence, for the reality of angels, and the truth that angels can bring to us the peace of mind and body and spirit, and the reality that they connect us with that spiritual aspect of life. And Dr. Freelander and I hope that you found this information useful, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Confident living rights every wrong. Dynamic power helps me be strong. Confident living comforts my heart. From such a blessing I can't depart. Confident living helps me expand visions of value, the kingdom at hand. Confident living, talent to win, gift of the Spirit moves from within. Confident living rights every wrong. Dynamic power helps me be strong.